Good afternoon, friend. Today we're going to talk about destroying things. And while that may sound fun, it also is a lot of hard work. What we don't destroy, what we allow to remain, ends up growing. And that may sound very obvious to us, but we are the best at self-deception, aren't we? If we have things that we don't want to deal with, in my case, that might be some large empty boxes I want to save for my grandchildren, or some furniture I'm no longer using, I might put that in the extra room to deal with at another time. Except for that another time never comes. And as the room begins to get cluttered with all of this stuff that I need to go through and decide what to do with it, it grows and then I end up just shutting the door. The same happened when I started baking with sourdough. Sourdough is very healthy for you. It's full of healthy probiotics, but in the amount that I was consuming it, it turned unhealthy for me and caused my waistline to grow. I would eat it multiple times a day. I some days would only eat sourdough. I wouldn't eat any fruits, vegetables, or protein, and my waistline started to grow. Instead of dealing with that for quite some time, I just wore loose dresses or leggings. It wasn't until I took a vacation and saw myself in those photos that I realized that I really did have a problem and I really did need to do something about that. So now I enjoy sourdough, but only one time per day, except for today. Today's not been a good eating day. And we have those days sometimes, and that's where grace comes in. But I was reading in my Bible today in Judges chapter 4, and it was about how the Israelites had been taken captive by the Canaanites. And if we go back a few chapters into Joshua 17, the Israelites had dealt with the Canaanites before. Now, when God gave Israel the promised land, he told them to destroy every single inhabitant that lived there currently, to destroy them, to kill them. And we may think that sounds brutal and violent, but the people living there were very, very bad people. And God had judged them and judged them to be killed. But with the Canaanites, well, they had iron chariots, and these chariots on their wheels had these metal stakes or spikes on them, so that when the chariot would be driven by someone on foot, it would either cut their feet clean off or it would severely hurt them. So when the Israelites saw these chariots, they were afraid. So instead of killing the Canaanites, they overcame them and made them their slaves. So while that may sound like a good idea at the time, it was not what God commanded them to do. So now we fast forward from Joshua chapter 17 to Judges chapter 4. And the Canaanites don't want to be their slaves anymore. Several decades have passed. The Canaanites are now more numerous and their chariots are now more numerous. And so the tables have turned and Israel is now their slave. So we see that when we don't obey God's commands fully, and the definition of obedience is instant, complete, and with the right heart attitude, then it can create problems for those on down our family line. And this is where generational curses and cycles of abuse, addiction, abandonment, and the like come in. So like in my garden, I've got plants that I paid money to grow that are native, that are beneficial for butterflies and birds and bees. And then I have plants that grow that I did not plant there, which some I do allow to grow. Others are considered weeds and are pulled. Now, I can't just pull the leaves that I see and expect the plant to be dead. I have to take my pickaxe and I have to work at the ground. I have to go deep into the ground to get that root. And sometimes that root for that little bitty plant is 2 to 3 to 4 times as big as the original plant was. So again, I say what we don't destroy and destroy completely is going to continue growing in our life. We may not see it for a little while. If I were to pull the leaves off of my plant, off of the weeds, I wouldn't see it for a week or two, but with sun and rain, it would be sure to grow just right back up again. And the same then is true with, as I mentioned earlier, those generational curses and those generational toxic cycles. It's hard work to beat addiction. I have not struggled with drug or alcohol addiction, but I have very good friends that have or are currently in the process of doing this, and I see how hard it is. And I just cannot imagine having to go through that, but I'm so proud of them for doing it. But it is hard work, and it's something that they will have to battle every day for the rest of their lives. Or standing up and not acting out in anger toward our children and not creating that cycle of abuse in their life. Or even if saying I love you or hugging them or kissing them, it seems awkward to you because that was not done in the family you grew up in. It's what our children need so they feel our love. Yes, we as their parents love them, and we assume that they would know that, but our children need told that and shown that no matter how old they are. So I encourage you and I ask you again, what needs destroyed in your life right now so that it will stop growing? For me personally, God has been taking me through a season of conflicts and pointing out things in some friendships that I have. Recently, he convicted me in a couple of friendships that I have been accommodating sin in my friends' lives. And I'm trying to tread carefully here because I don't want to sound legalistic. I feel like in friendships, we need to enjoy our time together, but it also is our duty as a friend. Like Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron. So we are supposed to call out our friends in love, and I want them to call me out in love too, if they see anything in my life that resembles sin, or a habit or a stronghold that I'm just not able to get over, and vice versa. So with two friends, I had been accommodating their sin and even allowing this sin to affect my own life and my spiritual walk. And God brought conviction to me in this, actually just last week, kind of revealed that to me. And with one friendship, I had to put that on pause, hopefully for just a time. Another friendship, God basically directed me to continue in, but I do need to take a firmer stance and be more bold with my friend and encouraging her to not go back down that path of addiction, but to fight the good fight of faith, and that I'm going to fight with her and I'm going to hold her accountable, and I'm in this fight with her, but she has to fight it too. With a third friend, we had planned an event that was going to be really fun. And it was something we'd wanted to do for a while, so I was really excited about it. But as we began talking about the event, it was very obvious that we had different ideas about what needed to happen at this event. And so for the last month, I have been just trying to work with her on this. And, because we both love Jesus, I don't want to say something that's going to hurt her or to make this time awkward instead of the fun night we planned. Old me, when conflicts came in relationships, I would have just went silent and withdrawn, sometimes at the cost of the relationship. Other times I would have been kind of huffy about it and just kind of did it with the wrong heart. But God really has convicted me that I need to learn conflict resolution, and I need to learn how to work through frustrating situations with others. I can't just turn tail and run. Satan would love if I just wrote off the relationship and threw it down as another relationship that I've walked away from because of conflict. But God says, no, I want you to stay in this, and you're going to work through it in a godly way. So that's what I'm going to do. God's not going to give us the big assignments that we feel that He's called us to. And for me, that would be writing a book, having greater ministry opportunities, starting an organization one day. These are all things He's placed on my heart. But He's not going to allow me to have these big assignments until I'm faithful in the smaller assignments He gives me. And so that's what I need to slow down and focus on. And so to finish up, I ask you one last time, which are you going to do? Don't destroy, remain, and grow weeds, or destroy, grow, and produce fruit for Christ. I pray it's the second one, and I pray that for myself as well. And I thank you and love each of you and pray you have a good afternoon.